Pogo, what is up, chat? This is Ekko's logs of my voice. Guys, you guys, if you want to listen to this video better, probably if you want to put it in 2 times speed, because sometimes I take a lot of time to think about the next words that come out of my mouth. Pogo. But anyways, guys, the title of the video, I think I'd like to talk about something that I feel like people don't give enough attention in their life until their life is so difficult and so hard, and then they probably have a midlife crisis. So anyways, chat, I feel like this essentially is a shortcut for longevity of a person that you're trying to be or you're trying to care about, given that you might have your own problems and themes in your own life. But I think it really key to understand where I'm really talking about this is, first you gotta have to think about this idea of kind of like the eternal self. I like to call it the eternal self because I'm basically referring to just the fact that inside your head, in your memory, in your voice, you have that way you think to talk to you about yourself. So that voice is basically your eternal self. And so thinking about that idea and kind of thinking about how it kind of stays the same throughout time is that when we think about other people and their life, it's really difficult to kind of apply this idea that everyone I see, everyone I look at, it's not just putting yourself into their shoes. It's everyone has this eternal voice of themselves that essentially all of us are kind of the same, regardless of what we look like, regardless of how we carry ourselves, regardless of what passions we have. So let's just benchmark that idea right there, right? And so another factor I feel like to think about would be age. So if you're thinking about age and you're also thinking about this idea of the eternal self, they might seem a little bit hypocritical because age seems like it stops you from doing things and the eternal self is eternal. So why would you connect the two to think? So if we tie all the ideas together, it's guys, to boil it down is that the shortcut chat is that when we choose to act and we choose to pursue things, given our youth or any point in age we're in, is that essentially the reason why you do it that's associated with the eternal self, knowing kind of those ideas are things that will give you a lot of longevity in your life. Example is that someone that locks in at a hobby, you see a lot of people with hobbies, right? A lot of people with hobbies, they might get really good at the hobby and it might become their whole personality or whatever. But in the longevity of time, maybe the reason why they're doing the hobby, it's not the best reason why. Maybe they only care about doing the hobby because they can perform. Well, when you get older, you lose that talent, especially if the hobby is very straining on the body. So why would you even work on it then? It comes a question, right? But the reasons why we choose to do things, I feel if we identify that with ourselves and we have the energy and stuff to put the work in, I think that's exactly what I'm trying to talk about, is just making sure that kind of understanding this basic skeleton of yourself in a moment where you're eternally the same. Chat, no one talks about this shit, chat. And especially guys, if you guys are still listening, if you get hurt in your life and it really takes the energy out of you, really destroys you, and makes it hard to do things, it's all the same picture, chat. That's why I think it's important to kind of have a grasp on how you are right now and kind of what kind of things in your life are kind of staying the same. I mean, I don't know, chat. I feel like just thinking about it once can save you a tragic story of trying to be the best version of yourself. So, I don't know, just to summarize what I've been saying, it's that, like, you know, thinking about this eternal self, like, what do you really value in doing the hobbies you care about? If you're just doing the hobbies just to flex on someone, man, chat, like, that ain't gonna age well about any sort of drive. Because, you know, I feel like this discussion, this helps you, like, build the best, like, backbone against the world so you can, like, conquer so much. And, you know, because especially guys in chat, like, if you guys are still listening, like, chat, you can lose it all, chat. You can lose it all, chat, like, just because you love someone, chat, and you tried. And, you know, this whole picture, you know, the sooner you can kind of, like, grab onto this whole picture that we're all, like, living in, you know, because a lot of people biologically become, like, humans, like adults. I don't know why I said humans there. For an apple go. But people biologically become adults at some point. And that has nothing to do with how the eternal self has aged throughout time. But, like, you know, understanding kind of the fact that, like, nothing really gets different at some point, like, biologically. And that everyone is just kind of like their stock build, and then they just get old and then die, you know? Like, just that alone, you know, just the idea that having some sort of idea about yourself will just, like, make you so much more meaningful about each step you take as soon as you start to realize, you know. And right now, it might not be making any sense to anyone. But, you know, I'm just yapping, guys. And I really hope that this helps someone out there in their life and gives them some new direction. Because, like, you know, with knowledge, there is the crux, guys, of it being so much more difficult than a simpler time. Like, thinking more, guys, sometimes is not the best solution for ourselves or the people we carry ourselves. I realize kind of like the best kind of state I feel like you can be in is understand enough about yourself, but don't care enough to, like, always uphold it in a way. Care enough to, like, know that you exist at least like this, so you can live, chat. Because if you care too much and you hop down this hole, you might not be doing it for the right reason. All this work, all this grind, all this, like, obtaining. And, you know, I really want people to really be the best version of themselves, because I feel like that's, like, something that, like, God has given us as people to try our best to do, you know. And even though we might make mistakes and a lot of bad things, that, like, one thing that's the same is that we have this choice. And, you know, I hope, you know, everyone out there in their own life, like, finds, like, God. Because, you know, I believe in God and glory to God. But, you know, if that's not your story and that's not your path, I hope you find, like, everything that when I say, I hope you find God, you know, I hope you find whatever that is. That for na poco. Because we're all, you know, I hope everyone can find what their eternal self is looking for. And I think that's the story that, like, no one talks about. But, you know, guys in chat, if you took away anything good from this, just know that, like, you are light years ahead of, like, anyone in their own story, I guess. Because in your own story, you know, thinking about this shit, why? why have I ever thought about this shit? I don't know. I cared. Try to be holistic. But like, it's, you know, this kind of idea and this kind of knowledge is the diff of like actually winning in life, I feel like. Because it's all up to you, chat. It's all up to you to pick. And, you know, as we keep progressing down this road of like our lives, you know, all the choices we pick, we have to pick more. And sometimes we're picking less from, you know, the decisions we made before. But every day, every second, it's not as much about how much time you have, chat. It's about how you use it. But if you lose it, chat, if you lose that sense and you think you're too old or something, chat, don't give up, chat. Let's all survive, chat. Fortnite, Pogo. When you're lost, chat, just say the Fortnite, Pogo, and try something, chat. I hope this lasting memory of me chatting on the internet helps out the people who need to hear it the most, chat. And, you know, if you guys want to join the Discord community, if you're still listening to me yap, I'll be talking here and there on the channel about my honest opinions about stuff. But yeah, we're going to be cooking, guys. And I don't know where my future is going to go as an influencer, but I'm determined to show up, do my things. And yeah, that's a hashtag influential moment. Guys, we'll be back on daily uploads, but yep, this is a chatting one. Hope this goes well, because I'm not going to listen to this back, and I'm just going to upload it, chat. Fortnite, Pogo. All Ekko cares about you guys. Shoots you guys. I'll see you later. Shoots you fuckers. Bro, why am I still recording?